Wake up weekday mornings from 5 to 9. LI in the AM with Jay Oliver. Traffic and weather every 10 minutes on the 5s. And A Better Life with Dr. Sanjay Gupta on Suffolk County's news and information leader. 103.9 LI News Radio.
And we're back. It is 7:09. An appellate division panel in Brooklyn unanimously upholding the validity of an agreement back in 2011 guaranteeing the Suffolk deputy sheriffs who patrol the LIE and Sunrise Highway all through next year. It was a 4-0 decision. The court rejecting the claims, that of Suffolk County Executive Steve Bellone and police unions. The agreement not legitimate, all because the county legislature didn't ratify the memorandum of agreement with the deputies. Here to talk about it, the president of the Deputy Sheriff's PBA. His name is John Becker, and also his first VP, and Arthur Sanchez, back in the mix with us here in the studio. Always good to see them. And gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning, Jay.
Boy, I tell you, reading this situation, and still without a contract, John Becker now, going on 7 years, hard to believe.
Yeah, absolutely. This is... For us, it's unprecedented. We've never gone this long without a contract. We certainly never thought it would go this long. We've been trying to negotiate with the county for a long time now. Hopefully this decision kickstarts things and we can get back to the negotiating table and make something happen. Interesting.
Artie, and kind of reviewing, knowing you guys would come in, this all goes back to the Steve Levy days way back. And in essence, it's hard to believe not a lot has changed here, which is incredible.
Yeah, no, I mean, all along we know that the agreement we originally had with Steve Levy was a valid agreement, and it's now it's been proven by the Supreme Court and the Appellate Court. So we look forward to...
I'm going to just change a little here on a technical standpoint, that's all. But all in all, we as we mentioned, the Steve Levy days is when it all transpired. And it's all about trying to keep emotions in place and everything else as you kind of make your way in through the courts and everything else with this appellate ruling here.
Yeah, absolutely. As John said, we look forward to getting back to the negotiating table. But ultimately, we knew, and we were correct, and the agreement was valid. And hey, we either come to the table, if not, abide by the agreement. If the reason you took us off the highway is because you didn't feel it was a valid agreement, all right, it's been justified now. It's a valid agreement. So
yeah. And John, you can go back a couple of years with the county executive, really winning office. Many people feel with the help of these police unions, had claimed this last-minute agreement by Levy was illegal, and thus returning the county police to the highway patrols shortly after his election. This was back in 2012, in essence. But all in all, the county police have patrolled the highways all in the last, 4+ years. So that's where it all stems from.
Right, and this appellate decision validated a lot of the contentions that we had. First, the county stated that it was not a valid agreement. But one of the problems with their argument was that if it was not a valid agreement, when we originally deferred $4 million in retroactive pay, and for the edification of your listeners, we signed an agreement back in 2011. And in that agreement, we deferred $4 million in retroactive pay. And this was from an arbitration decision for years 2008 through 2010. With this agreement, we solidified numerous job protections, and we were going to continue patrolling the Long Island Expressway and Sunrise Highway until 2017. Now, we entered into this agreement, and we deferred the $4 million. Now, fast forward to 2012, when Steve Bellone is now the elected county executive. He negotiates a contract with the Suffolk County PBA. And one of the provisions of that contract was returning the highway patrols to Suffolk County Police, thereby violating that MOA. Now, what this decision says is that provision of their contract should not have happened. We had a valid agreement in place, and the county should not have allowed that to happen and should not have negotiated that provision with the Suffolk PBA.
Right.
And they continued to hold on to the $4 million. We had to sue in federal court to see that $4 million returned. We finally did get it back, and that was May of this year. However, they only returned the money that was deferred. in that agreement, we had money that was supposed to be paid out at a higher rate. There was supposed to be step increases. There was supposed to be increases for promotions. That did not happen. So we still have members that are owed money,
Right.
and that's important to us.
So in essence, a lot has been made regarding the county executive. He's had negotiations with a couple of unions. Audie, you go back to the Verizon situation.
Sure.
We remember that, a very tense deal there. You can go back to the AME situation. It was certainly a topsy-turvy deal back and forth before an agreement coming upon. So in essence, is there a lot of hope here regarding Steve Malone? You think he can come to the table in some sort of a way as he did in the past with others?
Well, recently the other law enforcement union that was out of contract was probation. They recently came to terms. I believe they're bringing that to their membership. So we will be the last law enforcement union in Suffolk County without a contract. We have had 3 different Supreme Court justices rule in our favor early on from the beginning. Farnetti, who gave us a restraining order to stay on the highway initially.
Right.
Okay. County made a motion to Justice Whalen for a stay of arbitration, which he denied initially. Then it was granted by Mayor. We had the ultimate decision in Supreme Court by Justice Mayer, which is now upheld by the appellate court. So every step of the way, every time we had a victory, we were hopeful. So let's come to the point where, listen, if you're not going to be fair in negotiating with us, then abide by the agreement, and give us back the jobs that were taken from us unlawfully.
And certainly, as John, as you mentioned, there's back pay and everything else, millions of dollars at stake here. It was a 4-0 decision. What happens next? Do we have an appeal of some sort? What do you think this goes?
Well, the county has a right to see if they want to go forward to the State Court of Appeals. That's the highest appellate court. A very small percentage of cases are actually accepted into that court, and an even lesser percentage are overturned. When you're looking at a 4-0 decision from the appellate court, I really don't see a high probability of this decision being overturned. So, like I already mentioned, we have 2 paths we can go down. We can either negotiate this issue in conjunction with settling a contract, or they can abide by the agreement and return us to the highways.
There could be some binding arbitration, I would imagine, if nothing comes about, right, on the appeals.
Correct. So the remedy in the memorandum of agreement that we had was if the agreement is violated, we would proceed to an independent arbitrator, and ultimately he would decide what our remedy would be.
But in essence, so from what I understand, so as you mentioned, so the county finally repaid this $4 million, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so that basically, that was due at the end of last year. Union filed a lawsuit that was back in March, but in essence, the county still has failed to pay, as we mentioned, the raises, has failed to step up the increases, promotions. It was all part of pretty much the original agreement, right? The original situation there.
Correct. And there was, so that's why that federal lawsuit is still in place, because there are components that were not abided by. Additionally, there's a lot of money in regards to attorney fees. So basically, we feel we shouldn't have to pay to get our own money returned. That's something that the county should have to foot the bill for.
Right, so
if I could just interject also that payment was due December 31st. It wasn't returned to us 7 months late. The agreement is valid, so they should have paid us back in December of 15. We didn't get the payment, I believe it was July of 16. So they're 7 months late on the payment.
I mean, obviously, I would think on their end, they want to get this done. I mean, they would want to negotiate a fair contract and everything else. Obviously, you have the taxpayers and everything else to keep in mind here. But I would think to keep in good standing with what has happened in the past with AME, we saw what happened with Verizon. You want to get things done. You guys have been without a contract going on 7 years now. Do you get a feeling that they actually do want to get something done in good faith here?
Well, we're optimistic in the responses that were given by Deputy County Executive John Schneider, in which he stated that there was a willingness to sit down and negotiate with this union and to negotiate a long-term deal. So we're hopeful.
Now, Artie, you got 250 members within the union,
approximately
correct?
250.
What about the mindset of these men and women? I mean, basically, I would have to think they're a bit down, especially after seeing what's been going on
Sure,
here.
absolutely.
I mean, how do you keep morale?
So January
here?
we'll be coming into starting our 7th year without a contract.
Right.
So and I give the members a lot of credit because they come to work every day. They do a great job. They come to their assignments, and the important thing is for them to be safe. Obviously, job security and safety in numbers is something that we would always strive for. Also in negotiations, obviously along with pay scales. So they're keeping their head up as best as they can. But the important thing is they come to work, they do their job. Public safety is of most important to them as they perform their duties and keeping each other safe and getting back home to our families. So we asked them, to hang there a little longer. Hopefully, we can get some movement here.
John, do you think there'll be a lot of pressure now put on the county executive? I've heard various legislative leaders saying it's somewhat hypocritical as far as, what has happened in the past, to kind of stand with a private sector union as Verizon is and not settle a contract with the county union. Do you think words will speak volumes here, as far as maybe putting a little added pressure?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And, for us, it was difficult to see that, you have the legislature, you have the county executive, and, they're championing the cause of the Verizon workers, which certainly we support. But, however, you have workers within your own county that are out of contract, and I think that should take precedence over a private sector issue.
All righty. Now, 7:21. We'll take a quick break, come right back, finish it up. Artie Sanchez, John Becker with us from the Deputy Sheriff's PBA. We'll be back after these words.
1039 LI News Radio. Follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and listen live 24/7 at linewsradio.com.
All right, we're back at 7:23. We are talking with John Becker. He's the president of the Deputy Sheriff's PBA. Also, Arthur Sanchez here is the first VP. We're talking regarding the appellate division in Brooklyn last Thursday, the ruling upholding pretty much as far as the county executive and where the union stands right now, and that is without a raise for 6+ years. January we'll get into the 7th year, but there are some hopes that once again the sheriffs and the union and company will be back in good standing. But in essence, John, with all the negative stuff coming out, there's a little bit of positive good news as far as the passage of a bill you were telling me about.
Correct. So Suffolk County and Nassau County deputy sheriffs, we spearheaded a statewide bill in which, when we were able to get a 20-year retirement, and this was years past, what would happen is every year the sheriff of each county would have to sign off that each deputy sheriff did 51% criminal law enforcement. So the language in that retirement was problematic because you could have situations where an officer is hurt for a long period of time. So during that time, he may not be doing 51% criminal law enforcement for the year. You can have an officer who's assigned to the academy and teaches full-time. In essence, he would not be doing 51% criminal law enforcement. So the language was intended to delineate different classes of deputy sheriff. We don't have that here in Suffolk and Nassau in the downstate area, but upstate New York, you have classes of deputy sheriff that are actually peace officers and not police officers. They will work in correctional facilities. So that was the intent behind the original language. What we did was we were able to draft a piece of legislation where, upon graduation from the police academy, the state would then accept that you no longer need to be signed off on every year. And each county would opt into this, and we were able to get that here in Suffolk County. The legislature voted unanimously to adopt this bill. So this was great news, not only for deputy sheriffs here in Suffolk County, but throughout the state. So we're very, very pleased that we were able to accomplish that.
All right, a little bit of a silver lining there, and hopefully, for you two and the 250 members or so, there'll be some good news down the road. You're going to keep us posted right here, and if hopefully anything breaks.
Absolutely.
I know I read that maybe there'll be a meeting in the next couple of days, possibly, so we'll wait and see what happens, correct?
Correct. We're hopeful that negotiations can move forward in a positive direction and, have this settled and both parties can move forward.
There you go. John Becker, Artie Sanchez from the Sheriff's Union.